The stars in that sector flickered like they were unsure about continuing their duties, and the man noticed it only because his dragon refused to stop complaining about it. He leaned forward slightly in the saddle, adjusting a control panel that had been repaired too many times to be called reliable. The dragon snorted, a low vibration traveling through its armored spine. "These stars are defective," it muttered. "I would like to file a cosmic complaint." "You file complaints about everything," the man replied. "Yes, but this time I am correct. Look at that one," it blinked. "Stars don't blink. This one did, I saw it, twice. Suspicious behavior." The man almost smiled, but something else pulled his attention. Ahead of them, drifting between fragments of silent debris, stood a figure. Not floating, not anchored, just present. The dragon slowed without being asked, its wings folding slightly as if even it felt the wrongness of the moment. "Oh good," the dragon whispered. "A mysterious silhouette in empty space. This always ends well." They approached cautiously. The woman turned her head before they made a sound. Her face was calm, almost curious, as if she had been expecting a conversation rather than an encounter. She looked human, too human, the man thought at first. But then he saw the long, elegant ears curving back along her head, catching something invisible. "You took your time," she said. The man blinked. "We weren't invited." "You were," she replied, tilting her head slightly. "You just didn't hear it." The dragon leaned closer to the man. "I told you the stars were suspicious. Now they're sending invitations." Something drifted past them, a broken fragment of a ship, its surface cracked and lifeless. As the woman glanced at it, the metal shifted. Slowly, quietly, the fracture sealed itself, the surface smoothing like it had never been damaged. The man stiffened. "You did that," he said. "I adjusted it," she answered. "It was uncomfortable the way it was." The dragon's eyes narrowed. "She adjusted it, that is not a normal sentence." The man slid off the saddle, boots finding nothing and yet holding firm, as if space had agreed to cooperate for the moment. He stepped closer, studying her carefully. "Who are you?" She considered the question like it was unfamiliar. "I don't think I have a useful answer for that." "Try anyway." She smiled faintly. "I listen, and sometimes things change." "Things don't just change," the dragon said. "They explode, collapse, or become extremely inconvenient." Another flicker passed through the stars above them. This time, the man saw it too. A ripple, subtle but undeniable, like reality had taken a breath and forgotten how to exhale properly. "You hear that?" she asked softly. "I don't hear anything," the man said. "That's because it hasn't happened yet." The dragon let out a long, dramatic sigh. "Of course, she listens to future problems. That's exactly what we needed today." The man hesitated, then asked the question that mattered. "Are you alone out here?" Her eyes shifted, not to him, but to something distant and unseen. For the first time, there was something quieter in her expression. "Yes," she said. The answer settled heavier than expected. The man glanced back at his dragon, who looked deeply unimpressed but said nothing for once. He turned back to her. "You shouldn't be," he said. The dragon immediately groaned. "Ah, there it is. The beginning of a terrible decision." The woman watched him, something curious flickering behind her calm gaze. "You say that like it's a choice." "It is," the man replied. The dragon lifted its head. "It is not. I was not consulted." He ignored it. "You can come with us." "Why?" she asked. The man paused, realizing he didn't have a clean answer. "Because staying here feels wrong." The dragon leaned in again. "For the record, everything about this feels wrong." The woman studied him for a long moment. Then, quietly, the space around them shifted, not violently, not dramatically, but enough that the silence itself felt different. "All right," she said. The dragon closed its eyes. "We are absolutely doomed." The dragon refused to move for a full minute after she stepped onto its back, which in the vacuum of space felt like a dramatic protest rather than hesitation. It twisted its long neck, trying to look at her without looking like it was trying. "I would like it officially noted," it said, "that we have invited a reality-altering entity onto my spine without a safety inspection." "She's not an entity," the man replied, securing a loose strap that didn't actually hold anything. "She's a person." "That makes it worse," the dragon muttered. "Entities at least follow patterns, people improvise." The woman sat quietly behind the man, her posture steady, her long ears angled slightly as if catching distant whispers. The stars ahead shifted again, faint distortions rippling across the void like invisible currents. The dragon noticed immediately and groaned. There it is again, the blinking stars. I am telling you, this region is defective. It's not the region, the man said, glancing back briefly. It's her. I heard that, the woman said gently. I wanted you to, he replied. The dragon exhaled a small plume of glowing vapor. Good, open communication. That always solves cosmic instability. They moved forward, gliding between broken remnants of an old battlefield. Ships split in half, weapons frozen mid-discharge, entire fragments of conflict suspended like someone had paused reality and forgotten to press play again. The man frowned. This wasn't like this before. No, the woman said. It was. One of the shattered vessels suddenly jerked, its pieces pulling together for a brief second before snapping apart again. The dragon flinched mid-flight. I don't like that, it said. That looked like it tried to fix itself and then changed its mind. That is deeply unsettling behavior for a ship. It's not the ship, the woman murmured. It's everything around it. The man felt it then, not a sound, not a movement, but a pressure. Like standing too close to something vast and invisible. He tightened his grip instinctively. Who's doing this? He asked. She hesitated. Not long, but enough. They're noticing, she said. The dragon let out a sharp laugh. Of course they are. You can't just adjust reality and expect it to go unnoticed. There are rules. Probably. I assume there are rules. There were, she said quietly. The space ahead of them darkened, not because light disappeared, but because something blocked the idea of it. A formation emerged, slow and deliberate. Massive ships, smooth and silent, their surfaces reflecting nothing. They didn't arrive so much as become present. The dragon immediately straightened its posture. Ah, excellent, an ominous fleet. I was worried this day would lack structure. The man leaned forward. Can you get us through them? I can try, the dragon said, but I would like to point out that they look like the kind of problem that multiplies when approached confidently. The fleet didn't fire, it didn't move aggressively, it simply waited. They're not attacking, the man said. They don't need to, the woman replied. One of the ships shifted slightly, and suddenly the man felt disoriented, like his thoughts had taken a step sideways without permission. The dragon growled. Rude, it snapped. That one touched my sense of direction. They're not here for you, the woman said softly. They're here for me. Unacceptable, the dragon said immediately. We just got her. The man didn't hesitate. Then they'll have to deal with us. The dragon turned its head sharply. Oh, now we're volunteering? That's new. Usually I'm the one making poor decisions. The ships began to move, not forward but around them, forming a slow, tightening circle. The space inside felt heavier, like it was being rewritten in smaller, more controlled pieces. They're closing it, the man said. Yes, she answered. The dragon flexed its wings. All right, I have a plan. That's new, the man said. I'm full of surprises. It's a terrible plan, but it's the only kind I respect. Let's hear it. We fly straight at them, the dragon said, very dramatically. That's not a plan. It is if you commit to it. The man almost laughed despite everything. Do it. The dragon surged forward, wings cutting through the distorted space. The ships didn't react at first, which somehow made it worse. The woman's hands tightened slightly, not in fear, but in focus. They're adjusting, she said. So are we, the man replied. The dragon roared as it accelerated. If this works, I expect praise. If it doesn't, I expect a very respectful memorial. One of the ships shifted directly into their path. The space around it twisted, bending inward like it intended to fold them out of existence rather than destroy them. The woman closed her eyes. Everything paused. Not stopped, paused. Just for a fraction of something that wasn't time. Then the ship moved. Not away, not destroyed, just slightly to the side. Enough. The dragon shot past it, letting out a triumphant, almost offended roar. Ha, repositioned. I knew intimidation would work. The man exhaled sharply. You didn't do that. I contributed emotionally. Behind them, the fleet shifted again, but slower this time. Uncertain. The woman opened her eyes, her expression calmer than it should have been. They're learning, she said. The dragon didn't look back. So are we, and I lose to something that doesn't even roar properly. The fleet did not chase them the way enemies usually did. It followed like a correction, patient and inevitable, adjusting the space behind them so escape felt less like movement and more like a delay. The dragon kept flying anyway, because stopping would have required admitting something it was not emotionally prepared for. I would like to point out, it said, that being pursued by quiet, judgmental geometry is far worse than being attacked. The man didn't answer immediately. He was watching her. She hadn't spoken since they broke through the formation, but the space around her continued to shift in small, precise ways, like reality was trying to keep up with her thoughts and failing politely. "They're not ships," he said finally. "No," she replied. "They're rules." The dragon groaned. "Of course they are. We're being hunted by rules. I always knew this would happen eventually." The space ahead darkened again, but this time it wasn't a fleet forming. It was something wider, something that didn't need shape. The stars bent around it, not out of fear, but out of obedience. "They won't let you keep changing things," the man said. "They can't let me," she answered. "Same difference." The dragon slowed just slightly. "All right, I have a new plan." The man glanced down. "Is it better than the last one?" "No, but it's louder." "That's not reassuring." "We stop running," the dragon said. The man blinked. "That's your plan?" "Yes, we confront the rules, aggressively." The woman looked at them both, something softer in her expression now. "You can leave," she said. "This ends with me." The dragon immediately shook its head. "Absolutely not. I refuse to abandon the most interesting mistake we've ever made." The man stepped forward on its back, steady despite the shifting void. "You're not ending alone." She watched him, really watched him this time, like she was listening to something deeper than his words. The pressure around them increased, the unseen force pressing closer, correcting, tightening. "You don't understand what I am," she said. "Then explain it after," he replied. "When this is over." The dragon let out a low rumble. "Yes, preferably somewhere that is not trying to erase us." The darkness moved, not forward, not outward, but inward, like it was folding them into a smaller version of reality where choices had fewer options. The man felt it, the narrowing, the quiet insistence that this could only end one way. The woman closed her eyes again. "No," he said. She hesitated. "Don't fix it," he continued. "Don't force it. They will erase everything I've changed. Then let them try." The dragon tilted its head. "This is either incredibly brave or deeply foolish. I approve either way." The pressure tightened further. The stars dimmed, their light pulled into alignment. The universe was correcting itself. The woman breathed in slowly. For the first time, she did nothing. The silence that followed was different, not controlled, not shaped, just allowed. The force pressing against them faltered, not because it was weaker, but because it had nothing to correct. No resistance, no alteration. The man didn't move. He stayed exactly where he was, refusing to step back, refusing to let the moment collapse into fear. The dragon, surprisingly, remained quiet. "Well," it whispered after a second, "that's new." The darkness shifted again, uncertain now. The rules had no conflict to resolve, no change to undo. The woman opened her eyes. "I don't have to control it," she said, almost to herself. "No," the man replied. "You don't." The pressure eased. Slowly, reluctantly, the vast presence receded, not defeated, but no longer needed. The stars steadied, their light returning to something natural, something unforced. The dragon blinked. "Did we just win by doing nothing?" "We didn't win," the man said. "We stopped fighting the wrong thing." "I feel like that still counts." The woman looked around, her gaze calmer now, lighter somehow. The weight she carried hadn't disappeared, but it no longer pulled everything with it. "They won't come back," she said. "Good," the dragon replied. "I was running out of complaints." The man let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. He glanced back at her. "So what happens now?" She stepped closer, her long ears catching the quiet hum of a universe no longer resisting her. "Now," she said, "I learn how to be part of it." The dragon stretched its wings, satisfied. "Excellent, a peaceful resolution. I was getting tired." The man smiled faintly, looking out at the steady stars ahead. "Where to?" the dragon asked. He didn't answer right away. For the first time, it didn't feel like they were chasing something or running from it. "Anywhere," he said finally. The dragon nodded. "I like that plan. It's vague and unlikely to cause immediate danger." They moved forward, not as fugitives, not as warriors, but as something quieter. And for once, the universe did not try to correct them. They did not notice at first when the universe began to behave normally again. It happened in small ways. The stars stayed where they were supposed to, distant signals traveled without bending into silence, and the dragon stopped squinting suspiciously at empty space like it expected it to argue back. "I don't trust this," it said eventually. Everything is stable. That's unnatural. The man leaned back slightly, more relaxed than he had been in a long time. You complained when it wasn't stable. I prefer predictable chaos, the dragon replied. This feels like we've offended something by fixing it. She stood at the edge of the dragon's back, not adjusting anything, not listening beyond what was present. Her long ears tilted slightly, but this time they followed real sounds, distant engines, faint transmissions, the quiet rhythm of a galaxy continuing without interruption. It's not broken anymore, she said. The man looked at her. And you're okay with that? She nodded. I think I was never meant to hold it together, just to understand it. The dragon huffed. Very philosophical. I still think we should celebrate cautiously, perhaps somewhere with food. You don't eat, the man said. I eat emotionally. They drifted into a region filled with traffic, real traffic, ships crossing paths, signals overlapping in messy, ordinary patterns. No one turned to stare. No fleets formed. No invisible force pressed against them. For the first time, they were not the center of anything. The man watched a small transport pass by, its hull scratched and imperfect. Nothing tried to fix it. Nothing needed to. That's new, he said quietly. She followed his gaze. It's better this way. The dragon lowered its head slightly. I suppose not being chased by abstract concepts has its advantages. A signal crackled faintly through their receiver, a routine broadcast repeating coordinates and trade routes. The man reached out, adjusting the panel, this time not because something was wrong, but because he could. He paused. For a long time, everything he had done was a reaction: fight, run, protect, survive. Now there was nothing forcing his next move. What do we do now? He asked. The dragon immediately answered, something less dangerous. She smiled faintly. Something real. The man considered that. Not a battle, not a pursuit, just a direction. He adjusted their course, gently this time. We go somewhere we choose, he said. The dragon tilted its head. That sounds suspiciously like freedom. I'm not sure I'm prepared for that level of responsibility. You'll manage. I always do, reluctantly. She stepped closer, steady without needing to anchor herself to anything unnatural. The space around her remained unchanged, and that was the most powerful thing about it. Thank you, she said. The man shook his head slightly. You stayed, that was harder. The dragon raised a claw, and I complained, that was essential. They moved forward, slipping easily into the flow of the galaxy. No distortions followed them. No corrections waited ahead. Just distance, possibility, and the quiet hum of existence continuing as it always had. The man glanced back one last time, half expecting something to shift, to call them back into conflict. Nothing did. He turned forward again, his grip steady, not because he needed control, but because he had learned when not to use it. The dragon exhaled a slow breath, almost content. I suppose this is the part where we become legends. The man smirked slightly. Or we don't. The dragon considered that. That's somehow more impressive. She watched the stars ahead, no longer listening to what they might become, only to what they were. And for the first time, that was enough. They kept flying, not toward a war, not toward a destiny, but toward something simpler, something chosen.